Good morning, grade 7 students. I hope everybody is safe and healthy. Despite this pandemic situation, we should continue to gain knowledge and additional information because we know that education is one of the most important assets that we can acquire. So I hope everybody are all excited and ready to learn new things today. I am teacher Mary Ann, and I will be your teacher for today. So let's get started. In our previous lesson, you have learned the different hand tools and their uses. Do you think learning about them is helpful? Of course, the answer is yes. So keep on track because the next lesson will show you more interesting and helpful things which you could use in the modern world. So lesson 2 is all about components of a computer system. For today's lesson, our objective will be the following. At the end of the lesson, the students will be able to, number 1, discuss the 3 components of a computer system. Number 2, appreciate the value of understanding the different components of a computer system. And lastly, identify additional support components for a computer hardware. So these are all the objective for today's lesson. Before we dig in further, let us define first the terms, components, and computer system. Let us first define the word components. So component is a part or element of a large whole, especially a part of a machine or vehicle. The next term we are going to encounter in this discussion is the word computer system. So when we say computer system, it is a collection of entities that are designed to receive, process, manage, and present information in a meaningful format. With that definition of terms, we are now ready to learn the components of a computer system. So the major components of a computer system. Computer system is composed of 3 components, namely hardware, software, and peopleware. The 3 components depend and interact with each other to make a computer system function optimally. So computer hardware needs the computer software and of course, vice versa to operate. On the other hand, the computer hardware and the computer software need the peopleware to perform their respective task efficiently. Okay, so for today's video lesson, we will be focusing the discussion on the first component, which is the computer hardware. When we say computer hardware, what does it mean? Okay, so computer hardware refers to the physical and tangible parts of a computer system. So anything that can be seen and touched is computer hardware. Examples: mouse, keyboard, computer monitor, and printer. So these are some examples of computer hardware. Anything that can be seen and touched are computer hardware. So computer hardware is further divided into three categories. Again, we are focusing on the first components of computer system, which is the computer hardware. Okay, so computer hardware again is divided into three categories. The first one is the input device. Second category, output devices. And the third one is the system unit. So let us first discuss the first category, which is the input devices. So when we say input devices, these are components of hardware that are used to send data and manage a signal from the computer. So please, class, take note the underlined word, which is send data. Meaning, these input devices are used by peopleware to give instructions and data for computer to manipulate. We have four examples of input devices. So we have computer mouse, we have four examples of input devices. So we have computer mouse, keyboard, microphone, and scanner. So let us first discuss the computer mouse. Okay. The computer mouse is an example of input device used to point and select objects on the computer monitor. This computer device, or computer mouse rather, can be purchased in a variety of sizes, shapes, and configurations. So again, this is the first example of input devices, the computer mouse. So we have four different kinds of computer mouse. First one is the mechanical mouse. Next, we have optical mouse. Third one, we have the wireless mouse. And lastly, we have the trackball mouse. So these are four examples of computer mouse. So let's discuss each example. So the first one, we have the mechanical mouse. So it contains a metal or a rubber ball on its underside. When the ball is rolled in any direction, sensors inside the mouse detect the motion and move the on-screen mouse pointer accordingly. Okay, so this is the first kind of computer mouse ever invented. So the next one is the optical mouse. So the optical mouse is the most commonly and one you are probably using right now, which is far more convenient than the mechanical mouse because instead of using a ball that could become dislodged, it uses an LED sensor to detect the movements along a tabletop, which is of course sent off into the computer like the former one, or like the function is the same with the mechanical mouse. The difference is the first one, it uses a rubber ball or metallic ball, and the second one, or the optical mouse, it uses an LED sensor, which is more convenient compared to a rubber ball. That's why it is the most commonly used computer mouse. The third one, we have the wireless mouse. Wireless mouse comes in two types. So we have the infrared and the radio frequency. Both mouse relay signals to a base station wired to the computer's mouse port. Considering they don't have a cord to directly connect them to the computer or laptop. So both types also require batteries or some form of charging. So the last type of mouse is the trackball mouse. Similar to the function of the trackpad on laptops, the trackball mouse looks a lot like a mechanical mouse, placed upside down with the ball facing upwards that you'd probably move manually with your thumb or with your index finger. The next input device is the computer keyboard. The second input device is the computer keyboard. We are all familiar with this, right? Okay. In computer, a keyboard is a typewriter style keyboard, which uses an arrangement of buttons or keys. A computer keyboard is an input device used to enter characters and functions into the computer system. By pressing buttons or keys, it is the primary device used to enter text. So despite the development of alternative input devices, such as the mouse, touchscreen, pen devices, character recognition, and voice recognition device, the keyboard remains the most commonly used and most versatile device used for direct input into computers. So again, when we say computer keyboard, it is the most commonly used input devices. Next one, we have the microphone. So computer microphone is used to input sound that is then stored in a digital form. It is used for various applications, such as adding sound to a multimedia presentation or for mixing music. Next one, we have the scanner. A scanner is used to capture a source document and converts printed data or images into an electronic data format that a computer can store or process as required. Works similar to the scanning process of a photocopying machine. Okay, so before we proceed with the next category of computer hardware, let's have a recap first. When we say computer hardware, those are components of computer that can be seen and touched. And one of the categories of computer hardware is the input device or input devices. These are devices that are responsible for sending data into the computer. We already learned that we have four common examples of input devices. So those are mouse or computer mouse, microphone, keyboard, and scanner. So these are the four common examples of input devices. Again, when we say input devices, these are responsible for sending data into the computer. So the next category is the output devices. When we say output devices, these are components of computer hardware that are used to receive the output of a processed data. So please take note of the underlined word receive, which means that the output device is any piece of computer hardware that displays the result after the computer has processed the input data that has been entered. So the output could be a picture displayed on the screen, printed documents, or a song played in your computer speaker. Again, output devices is the second category of the computer hardware. So take note of the word receive. Some of the examples of output devices are monitor, speaker, projector, and printer. So these are devices that received information from computer system. So let's discuss each item. Let's start with the monitor. The monitor is also called the computer screen. It is the standard output device. A monitor is a visual display of information using text and graphics. It converts analog signal to digital signal to transmit information so that monitor can understand. The portion of the monitor that displays the information is called the screen. Like a television screen, a computer screen can show still or moving picture. There are two basic types of monitor. We have the cathode ray tube and LCD or liquid crystal display monitor. Both types produce sharp images, but LCD monitors have the advantage of being much thinner and lighter. While CRT monitor, however, are generally more affordable, okay, compared to LCD monitor. Next one, we have the speaker or computer speaker. It is an output device that produces sound. They may be built into the system unit or connected with cables. Speakers allow you to listen to music and hear sound effects from your computer. Next one, we have the projector. A projector is an output device that projects an image into a large surface, such as a white screen or wall. Projectors are typically used during meetings and presentations. For the last example of output devices, we have the printer. The printer is a device used to print text and pictures. It is a device that is hooked up to a computer and uses ink to put images from the computer into paper. Okay, let's have a recap. So the second category of computer hardware is output devices, right? Okay, very good. As the name suggests, it shows the result of the processed data. Examples are monitor, speakers, projector, and printer. So these are examples of output devices. Now we are down to the last category of computer hardware, which is the system unit. When we say system unit, it is the main components of the computer, or rather, the main components of the computer are housed inside the system unit. It contains the motherboard, CPU, RAM, and other hardware components, as well as the case in which each respective device is enclosed. The system unit is also called tower or chassis. So this is a picture of system unit. As we said earlier, this is the main part of a desktop computer because it contains CPU, RAM, and other hardware components, as well as the case in which each respective device is enclosed. So let's take a look what's inside the system unit. We said earlier that system unit contains the vital components of our computer system. Let us first discuss the important or essential components found inside the system unit. Number one, we have the motherboard. Number two, CPU or the central processing unit. Number three, RAM or the random access memory. 4, video card or GPU or the graphics processing unit. And number 5, we have the hard drive. Okay, let's discuss the first component, which is the motherboard. So motherboard is the main circuit board of a computer. It is sometimes called main board or system board. It contains all the circuits and components that run the computer. So basically, this motherboards is the life of our computer system because it contains all the essential components that run the computer. Next one, we have the CPU or the Central Processing Unit. The CPU is the processor or the main brain or heart of a computer system. So it is the brain and the heart of our computer system. It performs all of the instructions and calculations that are needed and manages the flow of information through a computer. The third one, we have the RAM, or the Random Access Memory. It stores data temporarily as the user works, which means RAM is volatile, meaning it holds data only when the power is on. When the power of our computer is off, RAM's contents are lost. Okay, next one, we have the video card, or the GPU, graphics processing unit. It is also called a display card, graphics card, display adapter, or graphics adapter. It is an extension card which generates a feed of output images to a display devices such as a computer monitor. And last one, we have the hard drive. Hard drive stores data and programs. It is the principal storage device for most computers. There are two types of hard drive: the HDD, or hard disk drive, and the SSD, or the solid state drive. So we have HDD and SSD. The difference between hard drive and solid state drive is in the technology used to store and retrieve data. HDD are cheaper and you can get more storage spaces. SSD, however, are faster, lighter, and more durable and use less energy. Okay, a hard disk drive is an old school storage device that uses mechanical platters and a moving read or write head to access the data. While the solid state drive, or the SSD, is a newer and faster type of device that stores data on instantly accessible memory chips. Your needs will dictate which storage drive will work best for you. So those are the key or important components found inside the system unit. We have the motherboard, CPU, RAM, video card, and hard drive. Let us further discuss the other components found inside the computer system. We have the expansion card, power supply, fan, optical drive, and expansion slot. Let's start with the expansion card. Expansion card is used to connect peripheral devices or add new capabilities to a computer system. Let's say you want to add extra USB port or LAN port. You have to install additional expansion card. But of course, that should be supported by the expansion slot. So what is expansion slot? Expansion slot connects the expansion cards to the motherboard to add additional capabilities to your computer system. Next one, we have the power supply. Power supply converts standard electrical power into a form the computer can safely use. Okay, next one, we have the computer fan. So computer fan cools the CPU and other important components inside the computer system to prevent overheating. Last one, we have the optical drive. An optical drive is a storage device that uses lasers to read data on the optical media. There are three types of optical drives. We have the compact disc, digital versatile disc, and the Blu-ray disc. Okay, so to sum up today's discussion, we learned that computer is composed of three major components, namely hardware, software, and peopleware. Today, we focused the discussion on computer hardware. We learned that any components of computer system that can be seen and touched are computer hardware. And it is further divided into three categories. Input devices. Input devices are components of hardware that are used to send data and manage signals from the computer. Second category, we have output devices. So these are components of computer hardware that are used to receive the output of processed data. And last category, we have the system unit. So the system unit is the main components of the computer are housed inside the system unit. So that's all for today. See you again next week for the continuation of the discussion for the last two remaining components of computer system, the computer software and peopleware. So I hope grade 7 that you learned something today. So I want you to advance study the topic about computer software and peopleware. See you again next week.